Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of reading people's hot takes and giving my honest opinion and outcome memories. Last time we read a few hot take comments, but it was a short one, and some people didn't really like how there wasn't much disagreement, and honestly, that wasn't really my fault since the post didn't get much attention. I waited a few days but no new comments came in, so I decided to go ahead with it. When I made that video, I didn't expect to get this many hot takes from people after saying I'll do another one, but wow! That's a lot of hot takes to go through. The amount of notification I got on my phone was freaking crazy. I'm really grateful for all the comments and how well the video did. So enough talking, since there are so many comments, I'm picking a bunch of good ones that caught my eye and ones I really want to talk about or disagree with. If yours didn't make it in, it's probably because number 1, it's not really a hot take. Number 2, I might have saved it for another video if this one was getting too long. And if I didn't pick yours, I'm sorry, but you'll get a chance in the next video because oh boy, there's a lot, so don't blame me if yours wasn't picked. Before we start checking out hot takes, I want to say that not many of you are subscribed to my YouTube channel. By looking at the numbers, that's a lot of people watching that aren't subscribed. So maybe hit that button, it would mean a lot. Thanks. Now back to it. First one is by Cash Botted. 2011X is both underpowered and overpowered. Now, this is just a simple case of whether you use range mode or not. He's basically range reliant or not, depending on the player. I'm a sweat in the game, yeah, I play way too much. But when I play as 2011X, I almost never use range unless it's near the exit or only a few people are left. It really depends on the player. If someone's bad with 2011X, he feels underpowered, but if the player is good and smart, he becomes overpowered. I don't think the devs should mess with that. Balancing around both good and bad players is hard, and nerfing them would just make bad players worse. Sometimes we just have to accept our death and move on. Now the next one is by Don Doe, and it says, hot take. People are too comfortable disrespecting and mocking people who aren't playing well. I myself have terrible internet, I don't know why, it's likely a server distance and Roblox issues since other games run fine on my phone. And I usually struggle as EXE and usually don't survive as Survivor often. I've been getting better at surviving, but EXE is still hard. And I'm often mocked or belittled for it. Now, I really agree with what he's saying because, well, first off, you shouldn't take this game so seriously. Second, people are just trying to have fun playing the game and not trying to be so competitive most of the time. It's probably just anger issues or them crashing out. We shouldn't really blame them. I understand dying can be really frustrating, but it doesn't give you an excuse to disrespect someone for simply playing the game. The next one is by Blocky the Lucky, and he says, hot take, Tails is one of the best survivors in the game. The main thing that makes him bad is the fact that 2011X is the only killer in the game who is Tails' biggest counter. I would be in the middle of agree and disagree because, well, first off, he really isn't the best survivor in the game yet. He needs to rely on good teammates as well. If you have bad teammates, you're gonna have a bad time being chased by 2011X, and a lot of 2011X players really like to chase Tails a lot. It really isn't fun to play him sometimes if you encounter him. I would say he is good offensively with his arm cannon, having the best stun and being able to snipe 2011X from far away, but the whole problem is that 2011X grab can literally kill Tails in a second. And I don't mean like 2011X kills him with the grab itself, but that once he's grabbed and gets out, he's just cooked. 2011X will keep slashing him and then move on to another victim. It's sort of easy to kill a Tails player, but that's probably just me. The reason I said yet at the end of Best Survivor is because he's planned to get a mechanic where you can grab people with your glide, which might bump him up to being a good survivor if that happens. I do want to point out something because I found a comment that isn't a hot take, but it's by Toaster Asset, and he says, if you kill someone, a targeter, because they chased you once and killed you, you should maybe reconsider your choice of game. This comment just made my day because I literally hate people who call anything targeting. If 2011X found you and started to attack you, you can't just call someone a targeter when he's simply playing the game. Do you really expect 2011X to just let you pass him because you're alone? At this point, what even is targeting to begin with? It's so simple to understand in game terms. It's literally going after the same person almost the entire round and making him leave or get mad. The game's support rule literally states this, and people say targeting Cream is outrageous, but let's think. Would you rather damage a bunch of people and let Cream stay alive so she can heal everybody and ruin your progress? Or would you rather kill Cream so you can take everyone out without having to damage them over and over again after they get healed? I'm obviously going to pick the second one because I don't want to repeatedly hit the same person I damaged so many times. It's just common sense if there's even a healer. But I'm done talking so I can get to actual hot takes. I just want to express my opinion on that. Next one is by German Campancho 326. Hope I'm saying that right. And he says, hot take, 2011X sucks when he goes against a competent team that actually helps everyone. I'm gonna keep it short. So true. The next one is by Cleve_swine, and he says 2011X base kit should be buff / range mode should be nerfed. 2011X relies too much on range mode 90% of the time, and to be for real, it's a pretty cheap ability at times. It's sometimes a free win even, but like I said, 2011X relies too much on it. Which is why I think his base kit should be buffed or maybe reworked, so he doesn't have to rely on range mode all the time. Second, hot take survivors should get iframes for a few seconds when being hit, like in TD. I don't know if there are iframes when being hit by 2011X, but it feels like he can maul you down so easily because there are little to no iframes when being hit. And I honestly disagree with buffing 2011X's base kit and nerfing range mode. Like, what's the point of having range mode if it's not effective? I understand that it's cheap at times, but range mode is basically your only ability to win the game, and 2011X obviously relies on it. Like, I stand in Cash Botted's hot take, I barely use range mode and still end up killing people with his base kit, so I feel like it really isn't necessary to nerf range mode or buff his kit. The developers said they plan to rework his kit, but that's a long update away. For the second point, I kinda agree that survivors should get iframes when being hit, but I feel like Metal Sonic will become overpowered if that happens. Technically, we do have that to some extent, since you get speed to run away when hit, so I feel like it's kinda not needed, honestly.
Get a load of this!
Alright, the next one is VHS Sans and Nico Seek, and it says, hot take, Feel the Fury is better than Break Me Free. You know what's better? Eggman is what I am. I am the Eggman with the master plan. I am the Eggman is what I am. Alright, next one is by Sandy Sander, and it says, hot take, Sonic is the worst survivor when it comes to a solo situation. 2011X has 2 mobility moves that can just negate Sonic's peel out and drop dash. Not to mention the guilt passive. In other words, you're cooked if a competent 2011X leaves you for last as Sonic. Now, as a 20-win Sonic solo myself, which I know you guys never asked, I really agree. In the current state with so many good EXC players, you're really cooked because 2011X can go invisible on drop dash and use God Trickery when you peel out. At that point, you're dead. Next one is by Copsci, and it says, hot take for 2011X balance changes. Invincibility. Invincibility should not have iframes for win up, so it's a good option for avoiding stuns, but not a free get out of jail free card. Charge. When you hit charge, you should get less stun time so that the survivor can get out with teamwork, but you still get rewarded for landing your move. And for range mode, instead of getting crazy buffs, you get small buffs. Nothing big, but a much more aggressive moveset, but no teleports and crazy mobility, but like fast and aggressive moves. Invincibility stays roughly the same in range, maybe a few changes, but make Charge and Trickster new moves in range. Now, I kind of agree on the invincibility part, but I don't like the idea of getting stunned just for using invincibility. Imagine Metal Sonic charging at you while you try to eviz through him and end up getting tackled. I do agree with the charge suggestion. For range mode, I disagree. I still prefer the current state. Overall, it's a semi-decent 2011X balance change suggestion. Alright, the next one is by KamiKai707, and it says, I think Unstoppable should be a passive exclusive to Sonic. As fitting as it is for Knuckles, it's really unfair that there are 2 possible survivors that can be in the same match and extend your stun time longer than it needs to be. And I believe Sonic should be the one to keep it as not only is he the main character and blah 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 blah, but also because his drop dash move just seems like a more deserving ability for a passive like this. Now, I disagree because that would ruin Knuckles' playstyle. Knuckles has a charge attack, and giving him the unstoppable passive is beneficial because he doesn't have to worry about disabling his punch. Without it, his charge punch would just be really weak and the whole purpose of the ability will be ruined. Alright, the next one is by Sky and Divinity, and it says, Tails is a mid-survivor. He's mostly reliant on range, he's extremely vulnerable, and can't do anything besides standing on the sidelines. He really has nothing that keeps him alive, and when he's on cooldown, and with that, I think the dev should give him a third ability that allows him to do something else when he's switching spots, because the executioner is already gonna know where you are by the time you shoot from the arm cannon. Thanks for answering mines, by the way. No problem for answering your comment last video. This sums up what I said about Tails and the other hot take. I agree it's boring to just stand still waiting for the arm cannon to recharge, but I disagree that he has nothing to keep him alive during cooldown. If you save your glide and use it at the right time, you can glide to your teammates to stay safe. But if your teammates aren't helpful, then you're basically dead. So it's a 50 by 50 whether you survive, and yes, shooting 2011X with the arm cannon will make him chase you. Alright, the next one is by Title, and it says, honestly, think that out of all the survivors, Cream sucks. She is a healer, that is a fact, but she has nothing to defend herself, specifically when she is the most targeted in a match. Dash doesn't do much at all either. Now, it's obvious she's weak, but I've seen good Cream players limp around with Glide and Juke 2011X using Dash effectively. I highly disagree that Dash doesn't do anything. It can be really useful if used correctly. Alright, the next one is by LoveRip3261, and it says, range mode should be changed or replaced with different moves. I strongly disagree. Making 2011X reliant on range mode was a good design choice. Changing it would ruin the purpose of giving the killer a range mechanic in my opinion. Now the next one is by Do1X, and it says, hot take. Tails has the worst passive out of all survivors, aside the guilt passive obviously. Now I highly disagree. Tails passive is really useful. Like if 2011X was invisible, it highlights his location near you, which helps when aiming the arm cannon and countering sneak attacks. It's a strong situational tool. Now the next one is by Eggman OM, and it says, hot take. Eggman's double jump should be removed. Nope, it shouldn't be removed. It's good as it is after the nerf.
The next one is by Supra in 4TM, and it says, hot take. As Knuckles, hold your ground against EXEs. Playing Knuckles can be very useful to discourage the EXE of going somewhere. You can charge your punch in front of him, and he will most likely waste time trying to find a way around you, or try to bait your punch. So hold your ground, it can save people. Now I kinda agree, it does make EXE players hesitant and waste time trying to get around you or bait your punch. But the thing is, some good 2011X players will just walk past you and attack somebody else, basically ignoring you. Since you move slowly, you can't really save people unless they come toward you. Also, 2011X can use its charge attack to get you. But if you use your counter at the right time, it can stop him. However, against a skilled 2011X player, they'll just bait your counter and hit you in the end.
Hey guys, I'm Block. Mini Ranaz, he has trapped me in his recording studio and he will not let me free until I answer some hot takes you guys have posted on his latest video. So here we go. The first one is from Toy Freddy Gaming 1987. Well, that's a big paragraph. I'm sure you guys can pause and read it. I don't think that Metal Sonic needs a rework. I think he's fine just as it is. I get where you're coming from. Like, it's a bit annoying that, you know, he can just heal all of his health and all that, and that's why you want to target him first, right? But if I'm guessing you're mainly talking about the EXE perspective here. If you target Metal, right, in the first couple minutes of the game, it's going to waste a lot of time if they're a good Metal, because they'll know how to juke, and know how to use their abilities to their advantage. So in order to avoid wasting time, I would focus on other survivors first, mainly the stunner, because Metal Sonic cannot survive being tunneled without his team. It's impossible, unless he's a really good juker and there's barely any time left, but that's besides the point. If you tunnel Metal Sonic in the first couple minutes of the game, the other survivors are not going to let him die most of the time. If they're good, if they're smart, they will help Metal Sonic escape. And even if you just keep tunneling him, targeting him, going after him, and you eventually kill him, it wastes a lot of time. So there's no point. So you should kill other stunners first and then target Metal, because the less survivors there are, the more easier it is to kill Metal. And if there's less survivors, they won't be able to heal. They won't be able to heal anymore because they don't have any breathing room to heal. So if you just go after the other survivors, you should be able to kill him pretty easily afterwards. Now, I'm just speaking in the EXE perspective. That's how I would go against Metal if I was the EXE. But I don't know. I'd say he doesn't need a rework. He's fine as he is, because it's just how it's all about teamwork. It's about how your team helps you with escaping or stunning the killer. It's all about that. I know he is going to get a third ability, but I really doubt they're going to rework his existing kit. His charge and his self-heal. I think it's perfectly fine as it is. And that's my opinion. Alright, on to the next one. This one is from your random YouTuber _ I don't know. I think that Metal Sonic has one of the best stuns in the game, but can be easily punished, making him one of the hardest characters to play, since he will rely on dodges and the passives from Eggman and Tails. I'd definitely say he is one of the harder characters in the game to play, since he's very reliant on his team, mainly Eggman and Tails. He can, get away with not having any other stunners on his team. I guess Tails is a stunner, but he's not really reliable enough, because the buff from Eggman is so fast that you can just heal, like, mid-chase. But I don't think Metal has the best stun in the game. Yeah, he may have one of the best stuns, but there are definitely a lot of survivors that have better stuns. The only reason Metal Sonic's stun is considered one of the best is because of the self-heal ability. If he didn't have self-heal, it would be hands down the worst ability in the entire game. There would be no point in charging at all. You just take hits. That's all you'd be good for. So I definitely said that Knuckles and Sonic have way better stuns than Metal. I'd say Metal is above Amy, Tails, and Eggman, because Amy, her stuns don't really last that long depending on what card she gets. And most of the time, she is going to get pretty shit cards. So it doesn't make her, the best stunner. She's more of like a solo character. But Sonic's like spin dash is just Metal Sonic's destructive charge. But I don't know, it's slightly better in all ways. You don't take any damage when you hit the EXE. You get 3 stuns out of that. It may not last very long, but it's enough. It is enough to get away from the killer. And you get your temporary dodge meter, your temporary health, dodge. You get regained on that every time you hit him. So I do agree that Metal is hard, but his stun is pretty mediocre. It's only good because of self-heal. That's the only reason I believe it's good anyway. Alright, this one is a bit of a tricky one. This one comes from Christian Toral Sandria XO5UC. Hot take: if you don't usually sacrifice yourself when playing as Metal Sonic, you're playing him wrong. I see a lot of people out there saying the same thing about how Metal needs to always sacrifice himself when, for the other survivors to escape. But in reality, if you sacrifice yourself, say you're very low health and you want to charge into the killer and blow up on him, right? It's kind of pointless. There's not really much of a point, especially if there's still a long way to go. Like, a lot of time they're on rage mode, or it's, there's only one other survivor left. There's no point, because for one, in rage mode, the stun is nothing. It's basically just a normal stun from Knuckles. That's how long it lasts, so it's pointless. And your job in rage mode isn't to sacrifice yourself, but to stay alive. That is Metal's number one responsibility during rage mode. You need to stay alive as long as you can, so you can delay the timer as long as you can. You have to waste Sonic EXE's abilities to the point where they can't really use them on any other survivors, only you. That is Metal Sonic's whole job, is to make sure that the timer ticks down enough for everyone to escape, including you. You may intentionally kill yourself at the last minute. The only time sacrificing yourself would even be worth it is if there's two survivors left and they're almost dead but the ring's open. That would be a good time to sacrifice yourself and take aggro. But if you can't take aggro, then I'd just tank hits. That would be the only time you'd sacrifice yourself, because if you sacrifice yourself, say Knuckles is the last one alive with you, right? You're a duo, and you got two minutes on the clock, and he's chasing you, and you're low health. You don't want to just blow yourself up. You don't want to charge into him. You don't want to kill yourself. You don't want to sacrifice. It's bad. It's not good, because then that will instantly put Knuckles in the LMS position, and very, very unlikely that he will win that unless he's really good at the game. Depending on the skills of the Knuckles and the EXE, it's kind of a 50-50. So what you should do is, instead of sacrificing yourself, you need to work with Knuckles it's like trading stuns. So if you're getting chased, you should run over to Knuckles. It's like switching it up, so then he takes the aggro, because he'll stun the EXE, will give you just enough time to run away far enough, and they will most likely go after Knuckles. And then once Knuckles is, getting targeted, then you come in and stun the killer, and it's just a whole process. So you gotta work together. You can't just go and, destructive charge, woo, and you're dead, leaving Knuckles all by himself. You gotta stay alive for your team as long as possible. If the killer is targeting you, it is pretty much like the whole game. If he's targeting the whole game, that's pretty much sacrificing yourself. That's another instance, because there's not much you can do if your team is trying their best to save you, right? But they still go after you, the EXE. All you can do is just stay alive as long as possible. That's what I've been saying. You just gotta stay alive as long as possible, waste their time, and if you die, you die. That's kind of what you should expect when you pick Metal, that you're gonna die, because most of the time EXEs will target you because you're very, very good on LMS and you're very good at tanking hits. So that's why most people just get Metal out of the way. But I see where you're coming from, but sacrificing yourself isn't really the answer. This ain't the disaster, bro. You ain't gonna self-destruct. Alright, we're gonna do one of the shorter ones because I am running out of time. This one is from Taking an Ellie. They're pretty much saying that Sonic should be able to peel out Metal and Eggman. That's the summary of that comment. Well, I don't know. I feel like the only reason why Sonic can't peel them out isn't because they're heavier. I think it's because lore-wise, Sonic still hold a grudge against Eggman and Metal because, they're nemesis. So it makes sense that he won't peel them out, even though they're in a life or death situation. But another reason is because Eggman and Metal, they are very survivable if it's just them. Those two together, even if they're on the other side of the map to everyone else, they can and will survive against the EXE. They're perfect for each other. One makes the other basically heal all their health instantly, and the other can protect against charge and, hits. And if Eggman needs to escape, he can just charge out of there, while Metal can destructive charge. They're built to be played together. They don't necessarily need any other survivor for them to survive. That's the thing. So I feel like it does make sense why Sonic can't peel them out. Yeah, it's my opinion. I personally never felt the need to ever when I was playing as Metal or Eggman, I never really cared that Sonic couldn't peel me out, because think about it, they both have abilities where they can they get a really big speed boost. That's actually probably the main reason why they can't get peel out. But on the topic of Sonic becoming a one-note stunner, he kind of already is. That's the thing. With peel out, it's kind of I don't know, it's not very helpful if it's just, even if, you know, Sonic, Amy, Knuckles is the last one alive. Sure, like, peel out can, you know, prevent Knuckles from dying, let's say. But you know what else can prevent Knuckles from dying? Using Spin Dash. Peel out, it only, you know, prolongs your death, because they can just teleport to you. That's the thing. But if you can stun them, they can actually, you know, get a chance to, you know, recover. I mean, it is kind of the same. Let's be honest. They can just teleport to you even if you stun them. But I feel like you don't really need peel out. Peel out is just kind of there if you want to save your teammate from dying, so then the EXE can target someone else. But the peel out just basically becomes one note if it's any other survivor that's still alive. If, say, Sonic and Knuckles, sure, you could do a drive-by if you really wanted to, but when are you gonna really get the time to use peel out? Because you will be the only person they're going to go after if you're both on peel out. So I don't know. I don't think Metal and Eggman really need to be, you know, have the ability to get peel outed, because again, they're good enough by themselves to the point where they don't really need it. And yeah, that's my opinion anyway. But that's all. Well, there's definitely a lot more that I could have done, but this is a very long video, so I'm just gonna stop there.
And that's all the hot takes we've chosen so far. You can comment more hot takes on this video, since I'll make another one someday. But I'm going to make other types of videos for now, like 2-minute guide of Cream, 2-minute guide of Amy, just any guide I'm going to be making. Then I'll probably get back to doing hot takes again, when I feel like it. But right now, I had a lot of fun making this, same with my other friends who, you know, spoke half of it. I mean, one of my friend Block did, but one of my other friend only spoke one. But it's still good, so thank you guys. See ya.